The grease was popping before you walked through the door. Something sweet on the counter, something savory in the oven, and your grandmother between them without a recipe card in sight. Those snacks are gone now. Here are 30 easy homemade snacks from the 1970s no one makes anymore. Before there were bags of it on every shelf, Chex Party Mix was something you made at home, and every household had a version that was fiercely different from everyone else's. The base was always the same: rice and wheat Chex tossed with pretzel sticks and mixed nuts in a roasting pan. Then came the coating: melted butter, Worcestershire sauce, garlic salt, and onion powder stirred until the kitchen smelled sharp and warm. You baked it at 250 degrees, stirring every 15 minutes for almost an hour. The recipe ran on the back of the Chex box starting in the late 1950s, but by the 70s, every mother had her own adjustments: a splash of Tabasco, a handful of sesame sticks, a dusting of seasoned salt that made hers the one people asked for at church potlucks. You knew whose batch you were eating without being told. Nobody makes it from scratch anymore. The bags are easier, but they don't smell like her kitchen did. The first kernel hit the oil, and you counted: 1, 2, 3. Then the rest followed like a drum roll under a heavy lid. Stovetop popcorn was the sound of a Friday night, made in a deep pot with a few tablespoons of vegetable oil and a quarter cup of yellow kernels shaken hard over a gas flame until the popping slowed to silence. You learned the timing by ear. Too soon, and half the kernels sat unpopped. Too late, and the whole batch scorched. The finish came after: a full stick of melted butter poured slow while you shook the bowl, then enough salt to make your fingers white. Before Orville Redenbacher introduced his gourmet kernels in 1970, this was the only way popcorn happened in most homes. The heavy pot, the oil, the shaking, 5 minutes, almost nothing spent. Kids today will never know what it sounded like to stand in that kitchen, waiting for the last pop. 3:30 in the afternoon, the screen door banging shut, and there they were. Celery sticks already filled and lined up on a plate. Ants on a log needed no oven, no stove, and no supervision beyond a mother with 10 minutes and a jar of peanut butter. You spread it thick into the groove of each celery stalk, then pressed raisins in one by one until they looked like insects marching in a line. It showed up in home economics classes by the 1960s and became an after-school staple through the next decade. Some mothers used cream cheese instead. A few let their kids assemble their own, which guaranteed twice as many raisins ended up in mouths as on the celery. The crunch, the salt, the sweetness. It was the kind of snack that made you feel like somebody had thought about you before you walked through the door. She started shaping it the night before, always the night before. The cheese ball was the centerpiece of every 1970s party table, and making one meant softening 2 blocks of cream cheese, folding in sharp cheddar, Worcestershire sauce, garlic powder, and sometimes diced onion. You mixed it by hand, formed it into a round the size of a softball, wrapped it tight, and chilled it overnight so the flavors settled. The next day, you rolled it in crushed pecans until every surface was covered and set it on a plate surrounded by Ritz crackers. Cheese balls in America trace back to 1801, when citizens of Cheshire, Massachusetts, presented a 1,200-pound wheel to President Jefferson. The 70s version was modest, but at every holiday gathering, every cookout, there it sat. The woman who brought the best one knew it, and everyone else did too. Nobody fought over recipes louder than they fought over whose cheese ball belonged at the center of the table. That same butter from the cheese ball found its way into a saucepan the next morning, melted with brown sugar, corn syrup, and a pinch of salt until it bubbled into something golden. Homemade caramel corn started with plain popped kernels, and a batch of stovetop caramel poured hot over the popcorn in a roasting pan. You stirred it with a wooden spoon, then slid it into a low oven, 250, for a full hour, pulling it out every 15 minutes to turn it. The baking soda was the secret. Half a teaspoon whisked into the caramel right before pouring made the coating puff up light and crisp instead of turning hard as glass. Families folded and roasted peanuts at the end, their own version of Cracker Jack, years before it came in foil bags at the convenience store. A pan cost less than $1 in 1973, and fed a living room full of kids without a single complaint. At every Thanksgiving spread, every Christmas Eve buffet, every funeral repast in the 70s, a relish tray held its place at the edge of the table, and stuffed celery was always on it. The filling was softened cream cheese beaten smooth, folded with chopped pimento stuffed green olives and a little of the olive brine for sharpness. You spooned it into the curve of each stalk, then lined them up between carrot sticks and radish roses, the crunch of the celery against the tang of the olives, cold, crisp, and gone before the turkey was carved. Making the relish tray was the job of whoever arrived first, and the women who did it took quiet pride in how neatly the celery was cut, how evenly the filling sat. It was never the star of the table, but its absence was always noticed. The relish tray itself has all but vanished now, and the stuffed celery went with it. Cheese straws carried the kind of heat that crept up slow, cayenne hidden inside a buttery shell that shattered the second you bit down. The dough was sharp cheddar grated fine, cold butter worked in by hand, a cup of flour, and enough cayenne to give it bite without making anyone reach for water. You rolled it thin, sliced it into narrow strips with a pastry wheel, and baked at 350 until golden, something between a cracker and a shortbread, but entirely savory. The recipe dates to the 19th century in the American South, where cheese straws appeared at everything from afternoon teas to wedding receptions. They hit their stride in the 1970s when finger foods ruled every party. A good batch stored in a tin for a week and still snapped clean when you broke one. The women who made the best ones never shared the exact amount of cayenne. You asked, they smiled, and they changed the subject. Nobody admitted it was just 2 ingredients. That was the unspoken agreement of every 1970s party. You brought the dip, someone complimented it, and you accepted the praise like you'd spent hours in the kitchen. Lipton onion soup dip was 1 envelope of dried soup mix stirred into a pint of sour cream, chilled, and set out with ridged potato chips. Kraft printed the recipe on the packet in 1958, calling it California Dip, and within a decade it was the most popular dip in America. By the 70s, it showed up at every barbecue, every card party, every Super Bowl gathering, always in the same ceramic bowl, always with ruffles strong enough to hold a loaded scoop. Some women added a spoonful of mayo, others folded in chives. The base never changed, and the compliments never stopped. The pre-made dip aisle killed it, but the jar version never tasted the way hers did, and everybody knew it. She melted the butter first, always a full stick in the biggest pot, low heat, never rushing it. Then the marshmallows went in, a whole bag stirred slow until everything turned smooth and white, and the kitchen smelled like warm sugar. Rice Krispies treats had lived on the back of the Kellogg's box since 1940, but through the 70s they were still made from scratch in nearly every kitchen with children. 6 cups of cereal folded in, then pressed into a buttered pan with greased hands. The trick was pressure. Too hard and they turned to bricks. Not enough and they crumbled when you cut them. The ones that were perfect, crisp edges, soft and sticky center, came from hands that had done it 100 times without thinking. They showed up at bake sales for $0.25, in lunchboxes wrapped in wax paper, on counters cooling under a dish towel. You can buy them in plastic wrappers now. They taste like nothing anyone remembers. Most people today wouldn't touch it, and that's exactly why it belonged on every serious cocktail tray in the 70s. Rumaki was chicken livers and water chestnuts marinated in soy sauce and brown sugar, wrapped in bacon, pinned with a toothpick, and broiled until the bacon crisped and the liver turned velvety. The dish was born at Don the Beachcomber in Palm Springs around 1941, riding the tiki wave that swept American entertaining for 3 decades. Trader Vic's put it on menus and it spread into rec rooms across the country. The contrast was everything. The crunch of water chestnut against rich liver, smoke of bacon against sweet marinade. Making a full tray meant handling raw liver without flinching, which separated the hosts who were serious from the ones who just opened a bag of chips. By the 80s, organ meats fell out of favor and rumaki disappeared almost overnight, from the center of the table to something most people have never heard of. If rumaki proved you weren't afraid of anything, clam dip proved you didn't need to try that hard. A can of minced clams drained and folded into softened cream cheese with lemon juice, Worcestershire, and garlic powder. That was the whole thing. And in the 60s and 70s, it showed up at nearly every gathering along the eastern seaboard. The dip had roots in New England, where canned clams were cheap and cream cheese held anything together. Some used sour cream instead. A few coastal cooks stirred and prepared horseradish for bite. You served it cold with Triscuits, and it was always the first thing gone. Manufacturers sold pre-made clam dip in aluminum containers through the 70s, but by the 90s, salsa had taken its place entirely. The tins vanished from dairy cases, and the homemade version went with them. One more cold dip from an era when cream cheese and a can of something could make you the most popular person at the party. You measured nothing. A handful of peanuts, a handful of raisins, M&Ms poured in until the color looked right. Then you shook the bag and called it done. Gorp, good old raisins and peanuts, was the original trail mix. And through the 70s, it went everywhere families did. Into backpacks on scout trips, into station wagons on cross-country drives, into brown bags beside thermoses at Little League games. The combination of nuts, dried fruit, and chocolate as portable hiking food traces to at least the 1910s when outdoorsman Horace Kephart recommended a similar mix in his camping guide. Every family had a version. Sunflower seeds, coconut flakes, butterscotch chips instead of chocolate. The only rule was you made it yourself and made enough to share. When trail mix appeared in pre-made bags at the gas station in the 80s, it stopped being something you assembled around the kitchen table. Nobody fought over the last handful of a gas station bag the way they fought over their mother's gorp. In the South, pimento cheese wasn't something you bought. It was something your family made, and everybody's recipe was a little different and a little sacred. Sharp cheddar grated by hand on a box grater, a jar of diced pimentos drained and folded in, enough mayonnaise to bind it, Duke's, never Miracle Whip. And sometimes a pinch of cayenne or a shake of garlic powder that nobody mentioned out loud. You could spread it on white bread or pile it on crackers, but at holiday tables through the 1960s and 70s, it got piped into celery grooves and arranged on trays alongside the olives and the pickles. Bridge clubs served it on silver platters. Church suppers set it out in cut glass bowls. The women who made the best pimento cheese were known by name, and their recipes stayed in the family, written on index cards in pencil, passed from mother to daughter with no measurements, just instructions like enough mayo to make it smooth and taste it, you'll know. The jars on grocery shelves now taste nothing like what came out of those kitchens. The first time someone told you the recipe, you didn't believe them. Grape jelly and chili sauce, equal parts, stirred together in a slow cooker with frozen meatballs dropped right in. That was it. No stock, no wine, no technique anyone would call refined. But by the time those meatballs had simmered for 2 hours in that strange, glossy sauce, something had happened that no one could explain. The sweet and the tangy had merged into a glaze so addictive that people stood over the crock pot with toothpicks and didn't move until the pot was scraped clean. Cocktail meatballs were a fixture of 1970s party tables, showing up at Super Bowl gatherings, office potlucks, and holiday open houses across the country. Some cooks used grape jelly with Heinz chili sauce. Others swapped in cranberry sauce or apricot preserves. A few added a splash of soy sauce for depth. The recipe spread hand to hand, always whispered like a secret nobody wanted to admit they loved, because admitting you loved grape jelly on meatballs felt like admitting something about yourself you weren't ready to say. Long before granola bars and fruit snacks filled the after-school hours, there was bread, butter, and a shaker jar of cinnamon sugar waiting on the counter. You buttered a slice of white bread edge to edge, shook the cinnamon sugar over it thick enough to see brown, and slid it under the broiler with the oven door cracked open so you could watch. 2 minutes, maybe 3, and the butter bubbled up through the sugar until the surface turned golden and the edges crisped. The smell was the whole house. Every kid in the neighborhood knew it. The cinnamon sugar shaker itself was a kitchen fixture, usually a recycled spice jar filled with a mix of 1 part cinnamon to 4 parts white sugar, and it lived next to the stove in every household that had children between 1960 and 1985. It cost almost nothing. It took less time than walking to the corner store, And for a 10-year-old standing at the counter in socks, watching the sugar melt through the oven door, it was the best thing anyone had ever made. The name alone stopped people cold. You had to explain every single time that it was for humans. Puppy Chow was Chex cereal coated in melted chocolate and peanut butter, tossed in a paper bag with powdered sugar until every piece was dusted white. Also called Muddy Buddies, Monkey Munch, or Reindeer Chow depending on which part of the country you grew up in, this homemade candy came out of the Midwest and spread through church basements and school cafeterias by the late 1970s. Purina had created the original Chex cereal back in 1937, and people had been finding ways to coat it in sweetness ever since. The method was the whole ritual. You melted the chocolate chips with the peanut butter and a knob of butter, poured it over 9 cups of rice Chex in the biggest bowl you owned, then dumped it all into a brown grocery bag with a cup of powdered sugar and shook until your arms ached. The cereal stayed crunchy inside while the coating set around it. You couldn't eat just a handful, nobody could, and the powdered sugar on your fingers was the proof. It looked ridiculous and everyone knew it. Half a grapefruit bristling with toothpicks like a frightened porcupine, each one speared through a cube of cheddar and a chunk of canned pineapple. The cheese and pineapple hedgehog was the appetizer centerpiece that no one took seriously and no one could stop eating. You stabbed the toothpicks into the grapefruit in rows, added glacé cherries or olives for the eyes, and set it on the buffet table where guests circled it with a mix of amusement and genuine hunger. The dish crossed from Britain to American party tables during the 1960s and peaked in the 70s, when themed appetizer spreads and conversation piece food were at their height. Sharp cheddar worked best. The sweetness of the pineapple needed something with bite. Some hosts used Colby or Swiss, and a few daring ones added cubes of ham between the cheese and fruit. Arguments broke out over whether the hedgehog was clever or embarrassing, but the toothpicks were always empty by the end of the night. Nobody makes one anymore. Nobody would admit they miss it either, but they do. October was when they appeared, sticky, warm, wrapped in wax paper, and handed out by women who had been making them since before anyone on the block was born. Popcorn balls were popped corn held together with a syrup of corn syrup or molasses, butter, and sugar, cooked on the stovetop until it reached the right pull, then poured over a bowl of fresh popcorn and shaped by hand into balls the size of softballs while everything was still hot enough to burn your palms. You greased your hands with butter first. That was the only way to handle it. They showed up at county fairs, Halloween trick-or-treat bags, and Christmas bazaars through the entire 1970s. Kids went door to door knowing exactly which houses gave them out. Then came the candy tampering scares of the early 1980s, and homemade treats disappeared from Halloween almost overnight. The popcorn balls went with everything else, not because anything was ever wrong with them, but because trust left the neighborhood before the recipes did. Nobody knows where the name came from and nobody cared. You just ate them until the tray was empty. Hanky pankies were ground beef and pork sausage browned together in a skillet, drained, then stirred into a block of melted Velveeta with a dash of Worcestershire and a half teaspoon of oregano until everything turned into a thick, golden, meaty paste. You spooned it onto squares of cocktail rye bread, arranged them on a baking sheet, and broiled them until the tops bubbled and the edges of the bread crisped. Also called Polish mistakes, sausage breads, or party pizza rise depending on the region, they were a staple of 1970s entertaining from the Midwest to the Mid-Atlantic. The best part was that you could assemble 100 of them, freeze them flat on sheet pans, and pull them out whenever company showed up unannounced. 5 minutes under the broiler and you had a hot appetizer that tasted like you'd been cooking all afternoon. The Velveeta was the key. It melted smooth, stayed creamy, and held the meat together like glue. If hanky pankies were the appetizer you pulled from the freezer, no baked cookies were the dessert you made in a panic, and they never once let you down. 2 cups of sugar, a half cup of milk, a stick of butter, and 3 tablespoons of cocoa boiled together on the stove for exactly 1 minute. Then you pulled the pot off the heat and stirred in peanut butter, vanilla, and 3 cups of quick oats until everything thickened into a glossy, fudgy mass. You dropped spoonfuls onto wax paper and waited, 15 minutes, maybe 20, while they set up into dense, chewy mounds. Some families called them preacher cookies because you could make them fast enough when the minister showed up unannounced. Others called them mud cookies or chocolate oat drops. The timing at the stove was everything. Boil too long and they turned dry and crumbly, not long enough and they never set. The women who got it right every time couldn't explain what they did differently. They just knew when to pull the pot. The spinach dip arrived at the potluck like it owned the table, thick, green, and sitting inside a hollowed-out round of sourdough bread with the torn pieces piled around it for scooping. The recipe came from the back of a Knorr vegetable soup mix packet. One envelope stirred into sour cream and mayonnaise with a box of frozen chopped spinach, thawed and squeezed dry by hand until every drop of water was gone. You mixed it the night before, let it chill so the flavors deepened, then spooned it into the bread bowl right before the party. The bread was the genius. You ate the bowl itself, tearing off chunks and dragging them through the dip until nothing was left but crumbs on a plate. It hit its stride in the late 70s and ruled potluck tables through the 80s, the kind of dish everyone brought because everyone loved it and nobody pretended it was hard to make. The recipe hasn't changed in 50 years, but the bread bowls have gotten harder to find, and nobody seems to bother anymore. It took all day, and it smelled like summer the entire time. Homemade fruit leather started with a pot of ripe fruit, strawberries, peaches, apples, whatever was cheap and coming in fast, cooked down with a little sugar and a squeeze of lemon until it turned into a thick, smooth puree. You spread it thin on a baking sheet lined with plastic wrap, slid it into the oven at the lowest setting, 170 degrees, and left it for 6 to 8 hours while the moisture slowly baked out. What came off the tray was a flexible, glossy sheet of concentrated fruit that you rolled up and sliced into strips. Before fruit roll-ups appeared on grocery shelves in 1983, this was the only fruit leather most kids ever tasted, and the homemade version had nothing in it but fruit. Families with backyard trees made it by the trayful every August, rolling the strips in wax paper and storing them in jars. The patience it required, a full day of low heat, is the reason it disappeared. Nobody has that kind of time anymore, but nobody has made anything that tasted like it since. The copper mold hung on the kitchen wall for 11 months, decorative, shining, shaped like a fish. Then December came and it came down. Salmon mousse was canned salmon blended with cream cheese, a packet of unflavored gelatin dissolved in hot water, a squeeze of lemon, and a few shakes of dill. You poured it into the mold, chilled it overnight, and the next afternoon flipped it onto a platter and garnished it with cucumber slices for scales and olive halves for eyes. In the 1970s, it was the appetizer that told dinner guests you took things seriously. Some recipes added sour cream or a splash of A1 sauce. You served it with crackers fanned around the platter's edge. The molds went to Goodwill by the thousands in the 90s, and the mousse went with them. The little red can with the devil on the label sat in the back of every pantry, Underwood deviled ham, ready when nothing else was. You peeled back the metal lid, spread the finely ground ham paste onto Ritz crackers, and that was lunch or a snack or the appetizer tray when somebody showed up with no warning. Homemade versions went further. Leftover baked ham ground through a hand-cranked meat grinder, mixed with mayonnaise, yellow mustard, sweet pickle relish, and a little onion until it turned into a spread that tasted nothing like the can. The Underwood brand had been making deviled ham since 1868, the oldest trademarked food product in the United States. And by the 70s, it was as familiar as ketchup. The hand-cranked grinder that turned Sunday's ham into Monday's spread is gone from most kitchens now, and the red cans sit where fewer and fewer people reach for them. The hands that spread deviled ham on crackers were the same ones that stirred the fondue pot. Slow, steady, standing over something warm while the room filled up around them. Cheese fondue reached American living rooms after the 1964 World's Fair in New York, where the Swiss Cheese Union served it and the country fell in love. By the 70s, fondue sets were wedding gifts and housewarming staples. A ceramic pot over a small flame, long forks with colored tips so you knew which was yours. You rubbed the inside with a cut garlic clove, melted Gruyere and Emmental with dry white wine, and stirred in a figure eight until the cheese turned smooth. Cubes of crusty bread went in on the forks and came out trailing strings. The rule was if your bread fell off into the pot, you bought the next bottle of wine. The fondue pot brought people close, physically standing around the same small flame, reaching in together. That closeness is what disappeared when the pots went to storage. They were small and easy to overlook on a crowded table, but one bite and you didn't leave the tray. Stuffed mushroom caps started with button mushrooms, stems twisted out and chopped fine, sautéed in butter with minced garlic until soft. You mixed the stems with seasoned breadcrumbs, grated Parmesan, a pinch of dried oregano, and enough melted butter to hold it together, then spooned the filling back into each hollowed cap and broiled them until the tops turned golden. The smell alone pulled people into the kitchen before the tray reached the table. They were a cocktail party standard through the 70s, served hot on a platter with toothpicks. The filling could be made hours ahead. Some cooks added crab meat, others crumbled Italian sausage, but the simple Parmesan version showed up most and disappeared fastest. It came out of the counterculture and into the kitchen. Rolled oats, honey, sunflower seeds, and coconut spread across a sheet pan and baked until the house smelled like toasted nuts and warm sweetness. Homemade granola was a product of the early 1970s health food movement, when co-ops and natural food stores appeared in college towns and young mothers began questioning what filled the cereal boxes on their shelves. You stirred oats with vegetable oil and honey, added chopped walnuts, a handful of wheat germ, maybe some dried coconut, and baked at 300 degrees for 45 minutes, stirring every 15 so it browned evenly. Raisins went in after, once everything cooled. You stored it in mason jars on the counter and ate it with milk or yogurt or straight from the jar by the handful. The 80s brought commercial granola in bags, then bars, then clusters, and the sheet pan version quietly left the kitchen. You laid the tortilla flat, spread cream cheese edge to edge, scattered chopped green onions and sliced black olives across the surface, rolled it tight, wrapped it in plastic, and slid it into the refrigerator. 2 hours later, you sliced it crosswise into pinwheels, neat spirals of white and green and black that looked like you'd spent the whole morning. Cream cheese pinwheels were the potluck trick of the late 1970s, showing up at baby showers, holiday open houses, and office parties across the country. Some used tortillas, others flattened white bread with a rolling pin. Fillings varied: diced pimentos, chopped ham, dried beef with horseradish. But the cream cheese base stayed constant. The woman who brought them always arranged the slices in concentric circles on a round plate, and the plate always came home empty. The recipe fit on one side of an index card. 3 ingredients, no technique anyone needed a cookbook for. Sausage cheese balls were a pound of bulk pork sausage, 2 cups of grated sharp cheddar, and a cup and a half of biscuit mixed by hand until it formed a dough you rolled into balls the size of walnuts. You baked them at 350 for 20 minutes until they came out golden, crisp outside, dense and savory inside. They showed up at Christmas morning breakfasts, church fellowship halls, and bridal showers from the late 60s through the entire next decade, passed not through cookbooks but through handwritten cards traded between neighbors over kitchen tables. The card your mother gave you is still in a drawer somewhere, her handwriting fading, the edges soft. You haven't made them in years. You keep the card anyway. December, and the crack of it breaking echoed through the kitchen like a promise kept. Homemade peanut brittle with sugar, corn syrup, and raw peanuts boiled together in a heavy saucepan until a candy thermometer read 300 degrees. Then a knob of butter, a teaspoon of vanilla, and a full teaspoon of baking soda stirred in fast while the mixture foamed golden. You poured it onto a buttered cookie sheet and spread it thin with the back of a spoon before it hardened. The baking soda made it shatter instead of bend, thin, glassy, full of roasted peanuts suspended in amber. Families made it every Christmas, wrapped it in wax paper, packed it into tins, and gave it to teachers and neighbors. The woman who made the best brittle never measured. She watched the color of the sugar and pulled it when the shade was right. When she stopped making it, everyone tried. Nobody got the color right.
Beechnut fruit stripe gum dazzled the 1960s with its rainbow of flavors and whimsical tattoos, making each stick an adventure in taste and temporary art. The vibrant colors of the gum strips matched their fruity flavors, making each piece a visual and taste sensation. The inclusion of temporary tattoos in each pack added to its appeal, offering more than just a chewing experience. Despite its flavors being short-lived, Fruit Stripe Gum's vibrant packaging and the fun of the temporary tattoos have left a lasting impression on those who grew up with it, evoking fond memories of a simpler time when even a stick of gum could bring a burst of joy and color to a child's day.
Stepping away from the fryer and looking more into the drier side of food, trail mixes were a Californian favorite, and they were just a mix of different dry fruits. Almonds, raisins, dates, and pecan or pumpkin seeds you could customize to your heart's desire. Easy to see why something with so much potential for personalization became so popular in a decade all about experimentation. Maybe we have had enough fast food and extra desserts, taking a dip into the healthy side of things. We have fried okra in restaurants in Oklahoma, which is actually one of the only vegetables in Oklahoma's official meal. All right, frying it might not exactly be the healthiest kind of thing, but as far as soul food culture and cuisines go, this takes the cake. Many communities that loved soul food would always have a fried okra plate in the fridge.
During the disco decade of the 1970s, space food sticks took off like a rocket, igniting dreams of interstellar travel with every bite. They bridged the gap between the fantasy of space exploration and everyday snacking, making them a product of their time. These nutritious, portable snacks were designed for astronauts, offering earthbound consumers the chance to experience a taste of space adventure. Although no longer in production, the legacy of space food sticks lives on as a symbol of a time when the final frontier seemed within reach, and snacks could be a part of that journey, blending nutrition with the thrill of exploration.
Cobbler had already been popular enough in Atlanta, so it would be natural that, like key lime, peach cobbler bites would become a thing too. Definitely popular in African American communities, as these were an affordable and easy way to have something nice at cookouts. Kids may not have particularly liked them, but adults in their 30s went head over heels for the bites. Green chili stew is a certified MVP in New Mexico cuisine, and green chili stew cups were only the next logical progression since everything else is getting mini versions. Perfectly balanced between soupy and sour while being tangy and spicy, these mini cups would be a reliable option for stalls to roll out in early rush hours or weekdays, and they definitely sold well.
Marathon bars hitting the shelves in 1973 stretched the very fabric of snack time with their ruler-embellished packaging and a generous 8-inch span of deliciousness. The long-lasting chew of Marathon bars offered consumers a unique and satisfying snacking experience. The combination of caramel and chocolate in a substantial, satisfying bar set it apart from other candy options. Its tagline, "Lasts a good long time," and distinctive packaging made it memorable. Despite being discontinued in the late 80s, Marathon bars are still fondly remembered for their size, taste, and innovative marketing, embodying the era's penchant for snacks that offered something extra.
For more in-the-box food that is not as out there as Rocky oysters, let's have some Snickerdoodles. Coated with cinnamon and the type to crumble wonderfully in your mouth, these were really popular cookies in Connecticut. Platters of these for some weeknight baking would make for some very wonderful confectionaries in the 70s. Knoephla soup would make heads turn in North Dakota because this soup had something for everything. Chicken, dumplings, potatoes, and other kinds of vegetables made for one melting pot, literally, of different flavors that was a savory lover's dream. Popularly served at vegan restaurants or just as an appetizer or starter at fine dining places in the 70s, it was an icon of its times.
Since their grand debut in 1930, Twinkies have danced their way into the hearts of Americans, becoming a beloved snack legend. Their ability to adapt to ingredient shortages during wartime highlighted the brand's resilience and ingenuity. Originally filled with banana cream, a wartime banana shortage necessitated a switch to vanilla cream, a change that contributed to the snack's iconic status. Twinkies became known for their longevity and adaptability, surviving changes in consumer preferences and even a brief discontinuation in 2012. Today, they remain a beloved treat, embodying the comfort and nostalgia of American snack food with their golden sponge cake and creamy filling, continuing to delight generations of snackers.
Arizona would eventually borrow from Tex-Mex cuisine when chimichangas started becoming a regular sight at almost any Latin American restaurant. Fusion joints or roadside stalls, everyone would be selling some kind of chimichanga, which is a deep-fried burrito. Filled with green veggies and sauces, 6 out of 10 people in the street would pick one up on their way to work in the 70s. Shrimp cocktail would be sensational cooked shrimp that you would often find served with a tomato juice cocktail and cilantro, some garlic and other basic herbs made for a very savory and tangy dish that added that perfect balance of low-key flavors, which made it a popular choice for 30-somethings on vacation in Nevada.
Imagine a dessert that defies gravity, layering itself into a trio of textures as if by magic. Launched into the culinary cosmos in 1969, Jell-O 1-2-3 became an instant classic, with its whimsical layers capturing the imagination of families nationwide. This innovative dessert offered a unique eating experience, from the airy and light top layer to the creamy middle, down to the classic Jell-O jiggle at the bottom. It epitomized the era's fascination with space-age technology, making dessert time a futuristic adventure. Although it has disappeared from store shelves, the legacy of Jell-O 1-2-3 endures, stirring nostalgia for a time when culinary creativity knew no bounds, and a simple dessert could captivate the imagination.
Marshmallow fluff and sweet milk chocolate made moon pies a snack that people in Alabama just could not let go. Some people would spice theirs up with graham crackers, and the dark chocolate sauce was simply to die for. School kids, particularly teenagers, would always have a couple of packs of moon pies as they were bus ride comfort food. We are not done with donuts on this list yet, as apple cider donuts prove that whatever the state there is always a market for donuts in the nation. Freshly made donuts right out of the oven sprinkled with apple cider made sweet tooths in New Hampshire go absolutely crazy. Out for a stroll with your partner or simply treating yourself after work or the gym, an apple cider donut was in season and a welcome fan favorite.
Freaky's cereal leapt onto the breakfast scene in 1972, bringing a motley crew of characters and a bounty of toys that transformed bowls into playgrounds. The playful packaging and marketing of Freaky's cereal appealed to children's imaginations, making breakfast more than just a meal. The inclusion of collectible toys in each box turned breakfast into an exciting adventure, making Freaky's more than just a cereal. This innovative approach to marketing, along with the memorable characters and tasty cereal, created a cult following. While Freaky's may no longer be on store shelves, the nostalgia for this cereal and its whimsical world remains strong, with collectors and fans still cherishing the memories and memorabilia from their childhood breakfasts.
The pie itself did so well in family celebrations and bakeries that people came up with key lime pie bites, which were just bite-sized variants of the delicious dessert. Amazing as appetizers and amazing as snacks for sweet tooths, people would forget their civil sides around a fresh plate of these. Runza bites are another addition in the trend of bite-sized food, which is a smaller, more portable, and affordable version of the original Runza sandwich. Nebraska locals have a long-standing love for the sandwich, so bites for when they cannot handle a full one makes sense. Savory bites and the perfect blend of meat, dressing with bread made for a great lunch that kids can fondly remember.
With a name as loud as its packaging, Screaming Yellow Zonkers burst onto the snack scene in 1968. The unique combination of sweet and buttery flavors set it apart from traditional savory popcorn snacks. Packaged in an eye-catching black box, it offered a sweet and buttery twist to popcorn that quickly won over popcorn enthusiasts. The boxes, adorned with playful and irreverent humor, became collectible items in their own right. Despite its departure from the market, the legend of Screaming Yellow Zonkers lives on, a testament to a time when snacks could dare to be different and laughter was as important as taste.
Deep frying things and vegetables would not stop at just that, because in Arkansas, fried pickles were the new mood of the week in the 70s. Just plain dill pickles that would be battered. Then deep fried, you could get baskets of these in food streets or in family gatherings as a side dish. Kind of something that hit its peak back in those ages, but it was pretty delicious. Whether you have seen them in Sex and the City or Castle, a New Yorker getting a soft pretzel to go with their coffee or muffin is an experience we are sure everyone relates to. Pretzels are crunchy, sweet, and filling all in one, which makes them an affordable snack to go for, when you want more than a mini bite of something but less than a meal.
Hubba Bubba swaggered onto the bubblegum stage in '79, ready to revolutionize the bubble-blowing biz with its non-stick formula and audacious flavors. Its unique formula made it easier for kids to clean up after blowing giant bubbles, enhancing its appeal. Its introduction of bold flavors and engaging commercials featuring bubble-blowing contests quickly made it a favorite among kids and teens. The brand's focus on fun and innovation has helped it maintain a special place in the hearts of those who remember the joy and playfulness of competing to blow the biggest bubble, making Hubba Bubba a symbol of the carefree days of youth.
Boardwalk fries are actually another platter-filling item that was the primary cause for people's metabolism skyrocketing back in the '70s. Boardwalk fries were not typically cooked like just any old basket of fries. These were dipped in vinegar and cold water before being fried twice in the fryer, resulting in what was an extremely soft yet very crispy fry people would always get with their burger. New Jersey is known for its love of fried and street food, and while disco fries strike a more bombastic image in the mind, these are just fries with gravy, cheese, and sauce. However, sometimes that really is all you need with a side of fried chicken or a burger. Popular at baseball games or night outs on the town for people of all ages, they were a '70s classic.
In the 1970s, Figurines diet bars were at the forefront of the health and fitness trend, offering a snack option that didn't compromise on taste. Their slim profile and diet-friendly branding catered to a growing awareness of health and nutrition. These bars provided a guilt-free way to indulge in flavors like chocolate, vanilla, and peanut butter, appealing to those conscious of their dietary choices. Figurines stood out for their focus on calorie control and convenience, marking a significant moment in the evolution of diet snacks. Today, they are remembered for their role in shaping a more health-conscious approach to snacking, blending the desire for indulgence with the need for balance.
Salmon is such a widely caught fish in Alaska that salmon beef jerky should barely come as a surprise. Eggs, salmon beef jerky with a side of toast, was a cheap and common breakfast in diners and pubs in the state in the '70s. People would often have slices of beef jerky and use it in other dishes too, like casseroles or meatloafs. Sweet potato chips are something kids would be selling at stadiums for football games, or grocery stores would have sales or promotions on like buy one get ones. Potato chips are a delicacy enjoyed around the world, and may be the holy grail of snacks, especially in North Carolina. Here in the '70s, people particularly favor thinly sliced ones that break apart like a cracker.
Since the swinging '60s, Hostess fruit pies have been pocket-sized parcels of joy, bursting with fruity goodness. Their handheld design made them a convenient option for on-the-go snacking without sacrificing flavor. These pies became the quintessential treat for those on the move, marrying convenience with the classic flavors of home-baked desserts. The addition of comic book advertisements further cemented their place in popular culture, making them a nostalgic treat for many. Despite changes in the snack food landscape, Hostess fruit pies remain popular, continuing to offer a sweet slice of nostalgia.
If you're from Colorado and a baseball fan, you might remember Rocky Mountain oysters, which are a lot more questionable than they sound. Essentially, these are the testicles of bulls, which have been skinned, coated in flour and batter, and deep fried. As an appetizer, they were common at baseball games in the state, but it was a relatively local favorite that did not see much love in other places, even in the '70s. Buckeyes in concept are not too different from mountain oysters because they are just peanut butter fudge balls that have been dipped in chocolate. Taste-wise, though, you can put them on the opposite end of the spectrum. Regardless, Ohio has a deep-seated fondness for these, giving you just the right hit of peanut butter along with chocolate, which no one has ever complained about as far as dippings go. It is not hard to see why this was so popular.
Chunky chocolate bars, with their distinctive silver foil wrapping and unique trapezoid shape, have been a favorite since the 1930s. Their dense composition provided a satisfyingly rich bite that was both indulgent and filling. The combination of milk chocolate, raisins, and nuts in a thick, chunky size offered a rich and satisfying snacking experience. Chunky's memorable name and substantial offering set it apart in the candy world, making it a treat to savor. Despite the changing tastes and trends in confectionery, chunky chocolate bars have maintained their appeal, continuing to offer a bite of nostalgia and a reminder of the simple pleasures of a well-crafted candy bar.
Another one that had a head start in its state and an established presence was Spam in Hawaii, so Spam musubi was a natural evolution. Japanese-American restaurants would typically go the extra mile with wrapping it all on a block of rice with nori. Most people would have grilled Spam on their own, but this bite-sized version which completes our trinity was easily the best. Marionberry pie bites are the middle ground that created a lasting peace between blackberry enthusiasts and tart diehards. Marionberry has the flavors of both, and that is what makes it really adaptable palate-wise. Anybody could really enjoy this no matter their age or whether they were millennials or Generation Z. Bakeries always at least had some kind of Marionberry pie bites in store at any given day.
Ice cube chocolates, known for their smooth texture and unique cooling sensation, have been a luxurious treat since the 1930s. Their small, cube-like shape made them perfect for savoring slowly, enhancing the cooling effect. Their innovative formula allows them to melt quickly, providing an instant cool effect that distinguishes them from other chocolates. This unique melting property, combined with their rich flavor, has made ice cube chocolates a sought-after delicacy for those who appreciate the finer things in life. The elegance and innovation of ice cube chocolates continue to make them a cherished treat, evoking memories of indulgent moments and the timeless appeal of chocolate.
From a state that loves barbecue pork ribs, has its own Kansas-style barbecue, it is no surprise that Kansas adores barbecue corn chips. Essentially just corn-flavored chips that have a gracious amount of barbecue seasoning sprinkled onto them, these were the definition of munchies. 1970. Kansas saw such a spike in popularity for these that store shelves would often be empty. Goo Goo clusters paint a picture of sweet marshmallows with maybe some chocolate or caramel, right? That image is almost spot on because this is a heavenly mix of peanuts, marshmallow, nougat, and caramel all drenched in chocolate. Addictive and mouth-wateringly irresistible, any Tennessee Thanksgiving or Christmas would not be complete without a plate of these for the kids.
In the 70s, Gator gum burst onto the scene, squeezing the essence of Gatorade into a zesty chew, a bold move to hydrate in gum form. Its packaging echoed the bright, energetic colors of Gatorade, suggesting vitality and refreshment. Its intense citrus flavor aimed to quench thirst, offering a novel snacking experience tied to hydration and sports. This unique positioning captured the imagination of consumers, especially those active in sports or seeking a refreshing twist on traditional gum. While the concept of a thirst-quenching gum was more innovative than practical, Gator gum remains a memorable product for its attempt to blend the worlds of snacking and hydration in a creative and flavorful way.
You might have heard of Kentucky bourbon before, but brace your ears for bourbon balls. Coated in dark chocolate and filled with nuts and other crunchy ingredients, this would use half a cup of bourbon. Not one to keep around the children, but for people who did eat it, a typical 24-ball serving was the difference between a comforting movie night and being bored on a Saturday. This is one for the barbecue lovers who just need something on a skewer because Chislic fits that definition to a T. Usually, you will find mutton or lamb on the skewer, but even beefsteak is used, and this dish is most popular in the neighborhoods and restaurant avenues of South Dakota. March 2018 saw it becoming the official food of the state. Definitely a great choice for Saturday night out with your friends.
Since their introduction in 1967, ding-dongs have been a hallmark of indulgence, with their rich chocolate coating and creamy filling. The silver foil wrap also served as a barrier to preserve freshness, ensuring each ding-dong was as delicious as intended. The individual foil packaging added an element of exclusivity and specialness to each cake, making them a coveted treat. Ding-dongs tapped into the growing desire for convenient, delicious snacks that felt like a personal indulgence. Their lasting popularity underscores the enduring appeal of classic snack cakes, reminding us of the joy found in unwrapping and enjoying a chocolatey treat made just for us.
Continuing the trend of mini-sized food, on this list breaded tenderloin sliders were these tiny bite-sized pork sandwiches that you could have at events or parties. Tenderloin sandwiches already did so well in Indiana, and it was an adored 2 p.m. lunch for young adults. In terms of accessibility, this made an already loved sandwich much easier to eat. Chili con queso and a fresh basket of crisp tortilla chips at a local authentic Tex-Mex restaurant was the perfect evening snack in the 1970s for Texans. Summer enjoyment may have peaked with this and a DVD of A Race with the Devil. Little room was left for any other dips, at least for tortilla chips, because queso was just in a league of its own, especially for university students.
Since 1965, Quisp has been zipping across breakfast tables, its saucer-shaped cereal and quirky alien mascot capturing hearts and taste buds. The marketing of Quisp utilized a blend of humor and science fiction themes, resonating with the space race era's fascination. The engaging adventures of Quisp the Alien, brought to life through comic strips and animated commercials, made this cereal a hit. Quisp's innovative marketing and delicious taste created a lasting legacy, making it a beloved icon of pop culture and a nostalgic favorite. The cereal's ability to merge storytelling with a tasty breakfast option has ensured its place in the hearts of those who grew up during its peak popularity, making Quisp a cherished part of cereal history.
Who can ever say no to corn, especially roasted corn kernel? Corn nuts would be very popular whenever it was harvest time in Iowa, and for kids these would be a great snack to make the school bus easier. Available in street stalls around the corners or in packets and cans, they proved that Iowa is one state very serious about its corn. Maple syrup has been used as a topping for pies, pancakes, and just about every kind of dessert out there, so maple syrup candy is no surprise, especially in Vermont. Vermont, you see, has a very dense market for maple syrup. It is packed with people just waiting to add that flavor to anything they are having. Maple syrup candy was something kids just could not quit, and something parents really had to control because of how easy starting a habit was.
Shake-a-Pudding shook up the 60s snack scene, turning dessert preparation into an interactive spectacle. Its DIY approach to dessert tapped into the growing do-it-yourself culture of the time, making it a fun family activity. This easy-to-make dessert offered families a fun and interactive way to prepare a snack, combining the simplicity of shaking with the satisfaction of creating something delicious. The novelty of Shake-a-Pudding, along with its reflection of space-age optimism, made it a memorable part of the culinary landscape. Its disappearance from the market has not diminished the fond memories of those who enjoyed the unique experience of making their own pudding, showcasing the lasting impact of innovative snack solutions.
You have heard of moon pies. Now get ready for whoopie pies, which are similar to Spam musubi in concept, actually. Maine would love the cream filling in the center sandwiched between two fluffy cookies that resembled mini chocolate cakes. Perfect for when you needed a hit to the brain to get it working or just felt like indulging in some gluttony. You might question, what is the difference between soft pretzels here and the ones in New York? Pennsylvania really likes to add a generous serving of mustard, and theirs are pretty much size XL pretzels. Now, this combo might be new to a lot of you, however, and while the ones you might find in New York crack apart easily, these are rather chewy, so kids loved them.
Freshen Up gum, introduced in 1975, broke new ground with its liquid-filled center, offering a burst of flavor that promised instant refreshment. This feature provided a unique sensory experience, setting it apart from other chewing gums on the market. This innovative feature distinguished Freshen Up from other gums, making it a novel choice for those seeking something beyond traditional minty freshness. The gum's unique squirt of flavor captured the public's imagination, making it a memorable and distinctive product in the snack market. Today, Freshen Up is remembered for its creative approach to gum, illustrating the innovative spirit of the 1970s snack scene and the lasting appeal of snacks that offer a surprise.
Boston Baked Beans candy, just like crab chips, specializes in being easy to consume and make in bulk. Originally starting out in Massachusetts as peanuts that were coated in candy, which gave them a sweet crunch, they got popular enough to get packaged variants. Grocery stores would be filled with two things: kids and frustrated parents trying to haggle with them for one packet less in the 70s. Clam cake dominates the New England cuisine in the Rhode Island culinary scene, and many adults fondly gobble these dough balls up. Summers would not be complete at Rhode Island without a serving of this at any party or sunbathing session, along with some chowder to go with it. People who would go on ferry rides to enjoy the summer breeze would always have these with some wine. You have heard of caramel popcorn with regular salted popcorn, but Chicago mix popcorn, which you can find anywhere in Illinois, takes it up a notch. Cheddar cheese and caramel popcorn mixed together made for some loud theaters because people could not stop munching. Maybe just a bit too savory, those kinds of flavors did do well in the 1970s. Utah has some pretty questionable fusion food choices, and green Jell-O with carrots is just the tip of that iceberg. Luckily, the tip is where we are stopping for now, and no, there is no saving grace because it is exactly what it sounds like. Diced carrots dipped in lime Jell-O gave some sort of flavor and sensory satisfaction to people in Utah. But for the life of us, we cannot figure it out. Maybe if you have ever had it, you can share the secret behind the hype below. Donuts and America are such a classic pairing that it is a no-brainer why Louisiana loves its beignets. Deep-fried donuts that would be caked in cinnamon or other lovely toppings, it was the donut of every sweet lover's eye. Also, maybe the bane of doctors who were sick of dealing with metabolism issues. Kids definitely were very pro-beignets and would devour these up anytime they found them. African-American restaurants made peanut soup a very popular staple of Virginia for many reasons. Affordability and versatility were both something it was great at. You could add just about any kind of dry fruit or ingredients to the soup to make it better. Grandmas would affectionately make bowls for their nieces and nephews on weekends. Joints in Virginia still have it as an appetizer along with bread and rice. You might be able to sue crab chips for false advertising, because on one hand they do taste delicious, but on the other they do not have any crab in them. Maryland Old Bay seasoning, which is commonly associated with crab dishes, is what these potato chips are covered in. Whatever it is, it works, and it works too good, because these things were mouth-watering, crunchy, and just the right amount of tangy.
Kellogg's Danish Go-Rounds brought the world of pastries to the breakfast table in the 1960s, offering a whirlwind of flaky, fruity delight with every bite. Their introduction predated the widespread popularity of international pastry options, making them a pioneering product in the breakfast category. Their unique shape and flaky texture, combined with sweet fillings, made them a popular breakfast choice, reflecting the era's interest in global cuisine and convenience. Although they have been overshadowed by other breakfast innovations, Danish Go-Rounds are remembered for their role in making pastry flavors more accessible and for the joy they brought to breakfast routines, highlighting the evolving landscape of morning meals.
Italian-American restaurants loved featuring ravioli, so taking it a step beyond to test the waters with toasted ravioli seemed like the next logical move. Missouri is at least glad they ever considered doing it because when we say these were a hit, believe us, it is an understatement. Great for brunches in particular, these had a death grip on the cafe scene in the state.
Fortune bubblegum sticks added a twist of fate to every chew in the 1970s, marrying the simple pleasure of gum with the mystery of fortune-telling. The concept of combining a snack with an element of surprise and personalization appealed to the playful nature of consumers. Each stick included a hidden fortune, adding an element of surprise and play to the gum-chewing experience. This unique feature tapped into the era's love for novelty and interaction, making the gum a popular choice among both kids and adults. The anticipation and discovery of each new fortune made Fortune bubblegum sticks a memorable snack, illustrating the inventive ways snack makers sought to engage and entertain consumers.
Catfish is widely available in the USA. Nuggets and America do not need introducing. So fried chicken nuggets was a bound-to-happen cultural moment for USA's foodie history. Breaded and fried to perfection, these crispy nuggets were the perfect thing to grab from the drive-by out with your friends or great takeout for a movie night at home for young adults.
In the 70s, milkshake candy bars captured the essence of a diner classic, transforming the malt milkshake into a chewable delight. Their unique selling point was the ability to enjoy the classic milkshake flavor without the need for a straw or a diner visit. Their malt-flavored nougat, coated in milk chocolate, offered a unique taste that set them apart from other chocolate bars. This innovative flavor profile appealed to those looking for a nostalgic taste experience, reminiscent of enjoying a creamy milkshake at a local diner. Although milkshake candy bars are no longer produced, they are remembered for their distinctive taste and the creative way they brought the beloved flavors of a milkshake into the world of candy bars, blending nostalgia with culinary innovation.
Huckleberry jam gets its love in Montana due to a regional privilege people there enjoy, which is the best huckleberries anywhere in the USA. Laying the groundwork for some incredibly amazing jam, Montana residents take full advantage with a spread that goes on literally anything you can think of. Toast, sandwiches, and crepes, huckleberry jam adds the perfect X factor to anything you put it on.
The butternut candy bar, a beloved treat from the 1950s, offered a delightful combination of creamy nougat, rich caramel, and crunchy peanuts, all coated in smooth milk chocolate. Its name evoked a sense of warmth and familiarity, further endearing it to consumers. Its distinctive blue wrapper made it easily recognizable, signaling a treat that promised quality and satisfaction. The butternut candy bar is remembered for its comforting taste and the nostalgia it evokes for a time when candy bars were a simple pleasure to be savored. Despite changes in the confectionery landscape, the memory of butternut's rich flavor and satisfying texture continues to resonate with those who remember it fondly.
Another one for the mini munchie sublist on our top 20 so far is cherry hand pies, which Michigan locals just could not get enough of. Beautifully soft, portable, and filled with tart inside. These made for the perfect baked goodie to show off to your friends or enjoy on your own. People had different takes on the dish, which goes to show how frequently it was made in homes back then.
1966, a new star was born in the snack aisle, Doritos. Originally introduced as simple salted chips, they underwent a flavor evolution with the introduction of nacho cheese in the early 70s, setting the stage for a taste revolution. This flavor explosion led to a diverse portfolio that captured the hearts and taste buds of snack lovers everywhere. Doritos not only became synonymous with bold flavor, but also with innovation, constantly adapting to changing consumer tastes. Today, although we know Doritos are still available, their range exemplifies a dedication to flavor innovation and societal trends, making each bite a testament to its evolution from a basic tortilla snack to a taste marvel.
Shrimp cocktail would be sensational cooked shrimp that you would often find served with a tomato juice cocktail and cilantro, some garlic and other basic herbs made for a very savory and tangy dish that added that perfect balance of low-key flavors, which made it a popular choice for 30-somethings on vacation in Nevada. Those kitchens went quiet and the recipes went with them. Hit subscribe if you remember the taste.